Alrighty, welcome to another episode of Superkickin with Steven, your favorite host right here. Day 2 of our weekend show. So you got 2 times the pleasure this weekend of us. So Greg, are you rocking your Chargers jersey after a good win today?
You know this, man.
That is good.
Came back from 14-0 down and showed the Browns who the real team is. Although the coach almost blew it for us at the end of the game, but thanks to their inept kicker,
Hmm.
we saved our bacon right there. But
There you go.
still a good win. Put tons of yards on the board and staying on pace with the Chiefs. So that's all that matters.
Exactly. And my Colts helped you out because we beat the Broncos, and that's all we need to say about that. So let's just get started with, because I think people want to forget that Thursday night game
Oh
even
God,
existed. So
yeah, worst game ever.
that will be one that will be put in the trash barrel of games. So let's get into Extreme Rules. So a lot of stuff happened. Um, some good, some bad. Some in between. We don't need to break down everything, Greg, but we can maybe just give some quick hits. The Brawling Brutes defeated Imperium. We both called that correct. Pretty good match. The crowd was hot for it throughout the night, I thought. I think the crowd was pretty hot for this, and it kind of died out though through most of the rest of the evening. Maybe Riddle and Rollins kind of stepped it up, but this really set the stage and just continued the good win for the Brawling Brutes. Correct?
Absolutely. I think that was the show stealer of the night.
Hmm.
They were into it from the beginning to the end. It was physical, it was nonstop action, and they told a great, brutal story. And great finish. Everything was perfect. So I wouldn't have changed a thing about it.
What about Ronda Rousey winning? It was hard telling if she was playing the heel or just in between or what she was really doing, but kind of an up and down match there. And Liv is gone black on social media. So anything to read into there, Greg? Maybe with Bray Wyatt in tow, could that maybe instead of Alexa, maybe Liv Morgan is kind of in there because a lot of people are positioning her to do that. But interesting that she did go black. Her and Rollins all black on their social media right now, but Ronda Rousey picks up a win over Liv. Kind of a hit or miss match, I think. They're it just never seemed to get its footing.
Yeah, it is what I said. I wanted Liv to show me something.
Yeah.
And going in, it's like, there's no way she's going to beat a Ronda in this type of match. And it was okay match. If we put on that 5-star scale, it's
Hmm.
barely a 3.
Yeah.
Um, but, I had no problem with it. Aside from the finish itself, because, the right person won naturally, but um, the way she beat her by not getting the arm bar and turning it into what Cole called a bicep crusher.
Yeah.
People in the audience, they're not going to know what in the world she's doing. They're just going to see Liv tap out. So it leaves a lot to interpretation.
Yeah.
Um, so it wasn't the best finish, but the person you'd expect to win this match won the match. And I was kind of waiting for Charlotte to pop out and
She never did.
stake her claim, but she didn't. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see where they go next. But this is exactly what I expected to happen. Um, are they going to pivot Liv into the new Wyatt family or something? I hope not, and I don't want to see that. Um,
But do
but
you think there's something there with her not officially tapping out more? The referee called it, and her smiling. That whole ending. Do you think? I mean, I don't think they do that for no reason.
uh, possibly, but
Yeah.
we've seen this way too much with the women, them going into the
darker side.
psychotic dark
Yeah.
side, yeah, with it not really being a payoff. It never paid off with Alexa after Braid was let go. And the Lily gimmick, thankfully, the last few Raws, the Lily doll has been missing.
Hmm.
And so I hope that's a clue that they're going to make Alexa more old Alexa,
Hmm.
5 Feet of Fury Alexa, and we'll be done with that ridiculous Lily doll. Um, Not ironic that it coincides with Wyatt returning, but I'll take it.
Hmm.
And I don't know, we gotta just reinvent Liv and have her do something else because
Yeah.
um, going from this underdog thing to go something completely 100% the other way is a good idea. But she didn't show us killer instinct now. Um, is she even capable of it? That's
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah. Karrion Kross defeated Drew McIntyre. Scarlett played a big role in this, which I think we both kind of said probably would make sense. But it's definitely showing you're going to go all in on Karrion Kross, and I think that's fine because Drew is Drew. He could
Yeah,
win the Rumble. He could win number one contenders match. He could just announce himself wanting to face Roman. So Karrion Kross probably was the right win here. Nothing really, just a lot of strap hitting. Nothing really out. Maybe some match. The idea that I thought Drew could have put on the strap like Karrion when he knocked him down at the beginning a few times, but you didn't go that route. So a little dragging on, pun intended, with this strap.
yeah. I wouldn't want to be either one of those guys today because
Yeah,
man, those shots made you hurt watching it.
especially the side of the
Um,
face. There was a good couple shots that just were
yeah, right on the
not
net.
not as high as or not as low as they probably could have been.
Right. I mean, these guys killed each other with that strap, and
Yeah,
you can tell that's not a gimmick strap. That's a real deal.
yeah.
Cowhide
Oh yeah,
leather. Getting it in. I would not want to be those guys today because they are welted up everywhere.
hmm,
Um, Decent match, and it served its purpose. You know, with Karrion getting that win, it elevates
uh-huh.
him.
Yeah,
Drew doesn't hurt him at all, and there were shenanigans at the end, so he doesn't beat him clean, and Drew saves some face there too. So it is what it is, and Karrion's going to be next man up after Saudi Arabia. So
hmm,
it's a good time to get that plot line boiling and get it ready for November.
yep. Bianca Belair defeated Bailey. Probably a surprise. A lot of chances taken here. The Kiss KOD with Io Sky and Dakota Kai took a little longer, Greg, but she pulled it off, which is still pretty impressive because you got to think that's 300 some pounds, just
Yeah,
off the top rope type. So then we did see the kiss of death with the ladder onto Bailey. So Bianca, and the reaction was great. You really saw the people show out for her. So I'm still hoping Bailey gets a good main event or at least a high caliber match, come WrestleMania time. But I guess just not the time to put the title on her yet. So, any thoughts on that
yeah,
match?
it'll happen. Yeah, it'll happen. It was a good match. That was the one match of the night that I missed on. Um, I thought this would be it, with
Mhm.
it being a ladder match and everything, but um, I get them leaving it on Bianca, and um, Bailey will get her big shiny moment, at WrestleMania. It's probably with a woman who's not even on the roster yet,
Yeah.
um, or on the roster who's not on TV right now. Let's say that,
Hmm.
but
Or could she
she'll
could
get
win the
her time. But
Rumble? You think she's the favorite for the Rumble right now? Because that's one thing she's
mm,
never won.
she's top five, but I don't know if she's the favorite.
Yeah. Finn defeated Edge in a got a little clunky there. We knew all the parts were going to be there, Greg.
Yeah, we
Beth
called
was
it.
there. Dominic was there. Ray was there. Damien was there. Rhea was there. I mean, you had to have all these pieces, but makes sense to say I quit and then have the heels still end up
Mhm.
laying out Beth. I'm going to assume we're still going to get Beth and Edge against Finn and Rhea. Maybe that's at Survivor Series. I think that would be a good place for that. And we'll see which way they go. That I'm guessing Edge. You got to think Edge and Beth are going to get the upper hand when all is said and done. Just because they've laid down a lot in this, literally. So I think ultimately, the Judgment Day comes out stronger looking. But I do wonder who wins the war in all of this, Greg.
Yeah, and we did a good job figuring out how it's going to go down. And I take that back. This wasn't the one match I missed on. I wanted Finn to win, but it, went on record
Oh,
saying Edge
Edge.
would win.
Okay.
Um, but we did figure out how it was going to happen if Edge
Yeah.
was going to give up. So, and we were right. So, um, I liked how they carried it forward. Like I said, the end was a little clunky, but they got there.
You had
Um,
enough pieces.
yeah,
I still don't know
and
who's going to even the odds for Edge, Beth, and Ray.
yeah, you thought AJ for a minute, but he's kind of the favorite. He's
Well,
not
another
really
thing
doing
about
anything.
AJ, they keep saying he doesn't have friends. Does that mean Gallows and Anderson need to come back?
Well, it's possible they don't have a place to work right now, so
Yeah.
that's quite a possibility. Personally, I wasn't a fan of him, but um,
Maybe under Triple H, they can.
yeah,
And maybe if they just let AJ do his thing with them, maybe that could give them the, push that they need. So, but I do think it was telling how Edge kept saying, I mean, Finn said to AJ, a couple weeks ago or maybe last week, you got no friends here. You got nobody to back you up. You got nobody, here. So it seems to assume that Gallows and Anderson would be back to even the odds, at least for AJ. And, I guess
mhm,
AJ still needs to be, maybe that's a Survivor Series. Maybe just do the old school 4-on-4 with Judgment Day versus Edge, Beth, Ray, and AJ. Maybe that is a Survivor Series style match we get. We've never had an intergender mixed tag type, but they could always
right.
tout that as a first as well. So Riddle got the big win. Um, DC, Greg. I don't know. You said he was 205 pounds at one time. I don't know if he's close to that now. Is he that ref shirt was looking a little not slim fittings. I, is that how he's always? Is that what shape he's just always been in? He didn't look
No,
in
no,
fighting shape. I'll just say that.
no. He had his last fight
Years ago.
about a year and a half
Okay.
ago.
Okay.
Um, he was the uh, heavyweight championship contender. He
Okay. Okay.
he had the belt, then he lost the belt, and then he lost the trilogy.
Yeah.
So after that last match where he uh, lost his where he lost the trilogy, that was he retired after that. So he's been
Okay.
out of the game for a year and a half at
Okay.
least, and so he is officially retired and growing fat and happy. So he is far from his 205 light heavyweight
Yeah.
shape,
Okay.
and he did make it to 205, but he enjoyed most of his time at heavyweight, and
Yeah.
you can tell he's still a heavyweight by
Oh
all
yeah, that's
standards.
yeah.
So
I mean, that's what I assume. So he really didn't get involved as much as I think we thought. I think he played the line fine. Like maybe they haven't decided if, or he hasn't decided if he wants to go full, part time or really squared up. So
mhm.
I think Riddle they took a lot of risk too. Riddle doing the Broton off the. I thought he
Yeah,
was going to flip. He really didn't. He just kind of landed on Seth, but moves up on the that 3 foot wide, whatever you want to call it, staging area, um,
Hmm.
and just a lot of good stuff. I mean, Riddle, the little kick off the cage, the fact that he was able to pull that off was pretty impressive. So a lot of striking, a lot of hitting, and Riddle getting a good win. And now, like I said, Rollins has gone black on social media, Greg. So should be interested to see what kind of Rollins we'll get come Monday night.
Yeah, it was really good. There was some fun moments in the match, and that kick that he hit off the cage, has
Yeah,
a foundation in mixed martial arts. There's
yeah.
a if you look up the Showtime kick, if you haven't seen it before,
Okay.
it was remarkable. And even Graves mentioned it when he hit it,
Hmm.
when he mentioned Ben Henderson, because he was the person who took the Showtime kick.
Yeah.
Um, and what that was is that it was a UFC fight, and Anthony Pettis was the opponent for Ben Henderson, who was the champ at the time. And Pettis circled around Henderson and put one foot on the cage, sprung off, and kicked him with the foot,
Hmm.
same way that Riddle did it,
Oh yeah.
except it knocked Ben Henderson almost out.
Hmm.
And so it is the stuff of legend now.
Yeah.
And so I noticed that as soon as he did it, I was like, oh, okay, they're doing that. So, but still, great match. Like the ECW send up with Seth doing the
Yes. RVD.
RVD gear.
I mean, legit to the T. The hair pulled back, and
Right.
the little tie dye or dragon looking stuff. So Edge definitely
Very
knows
cool.
knows the crowd, knows how to play the crowd. So
Yeah.
where do you
But
where do you
good
think we
match. We got the winner.
where do you think we
Uh,
see Seth going now? Well, he's got the U.S. title match, which is
yeah.
weird. Or else I almost wonder if we might not even see it. Do we see the Seth like after the um, kind of the Rey Mysterio stuff where he just like still looked the same? He never like he hadn't changed his clothes in 3 days. That type of Seth, the really unhinged Seth, I think would be really interesting to see there. So, and then of course, Greg, yes, it was cold, it was teased, it was thrown out there in our face, but it still didn't make the surprise, didn't make the pop any less.
No.
And a nice, cool, the characters coming alive, I thought was pretty cool. I thought I mentioned something like that. I think it'd be cool if people like different people were those characters, and someone mentioned the shot of light before Bray debuted or re-debuted or came back was a tease to Luke Brody Lee. Remember when Brody Lee did
Hmm.
his big blue light behind him as he debuted? So cool little touch there. Showing the Firefly Funhouse kind of all abandoned and dusty and cobwebs on it, and a very if you've seen Black Phone, that mask is just reminiscent of the Black Phone mask, that movie. So very interesting gimmick there because in that movie, that guy kidnaps kids. So I don't think WWE wants to go that route, but just having that mask is pretty creepy. So, um, are you any less or any more excited now, Greg, with the whole Bray Wyatt return, or would you have liked to see more?
No, it's what I thought it was going to be. Um, I thought it was fantastic the way they did it, making the the puppets from the Funhouse, you know, morphing them into live action
People,
characters.
yep.
They all looked great. Now you wonder how they're going to carry it forward, what he's going to do with it, and yeah, that pop was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a huge sucker for for those pops, being a performer and everything, and hearing that roar of the crowd, and um, yeah, it gave me goosebumps, and I knew it was coming, but it was just when you heard that pop, even drew you in more. Um, so great moment, and here's the question that I have though: is because there is still no reference to the White Rabbit, and after the first what 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the show,
They
where
had
we saw
the
the little graphic,
pop in. Yep.
that it never appeared again. So I'm not sure we've seen the White Rabbit yet.
They also
This
did
may
it
not
during
have
the
been that
pre-show,
moment,
which is interesting.
right? So I don't know if this was it. And there may still be a White Rabbit moment on Raw.
Raw. Yeah.
So I don't think that this was it. Like I said, if it seems too obvious, that's not it. And I'm not sure that this was the White Rabbit moment, because if it was, then there would have been something alluding to it, um, very blatantly obvious when it happened. So I think that that's not it. Bray's not it, and something else is going to go down. But it was fantastic. It was great seeing his face. Amazing hearing that pop, and I'm excited to see Raw and see what happens next.
Yeah. And then you wonder, like you said, do you bring these characters to life? Because a lot of people have noticed that it's Wyndham 6 in his name. So, if you think there's 6 characters, 5 puppets and then him, but, or, some people were going the other way, like you're showing all the puppets there, and maybe that's their goodbye, like him taking total control of everything. Like he's going to embody all of them. So there's a couple different ways. And speaking of the other Wyndham, Greg, how about this? Bo Dallas apparently returning. Very, it'll be very telling to see which direction do they go with him coming back. Do you let him have a whole new persona? Because I think at this rate, I think Bray and Bo, paired together is probably what needs to happen. Let the maybe not necessarily stink of Bo Dallas, Greg, maybe the end of Bo Dallas, but still hard. We still got to remember Bo Dallas was a 200, 300 day NXT champion, I think, or 200 some day. He was one of the longest at first. I think Finn eclipsed that, Greg, but Bo Dallas was still an NXT guy that was, really strong down there. I thought the Believe stuff could have taken off if they would have ran with it, but or even put him with New Day. I still would have liked that idea, even if it was a short run, and somehow letting that play out. But what any thoughts on Bo Dallas possibly coming back to the fold, and probably going to come as a whole new persona, because I don't think you can bring him back as Bo Dallas.
Oh, absolutely not.
Or you
Not a
start him as
surprise.
Bo Dallas and then you have him go to the dark side somehow or something like that.
No, I think,
Just
and
start
we
him
don't.
fresh.
Yes, start him fresh. Hopefully, he's changed his look and um, looks more like a Wyatt member.
Yeah.
Because it'd be better to, have a complete, image makeover and present him as, the brother or the family member,
Yeah.
and and bring him in that way and
Yeah.
get rid of the whole Bo leave nonsense.
Yeah.
I think that's why I didn't get over it, because it was so corny and nobody was into it. Um, it was, as Chris Jericho said, a bad idea from bad creative.
Yeah.
So he needs to leave that as far behind as he can, and then just come with something new and fresh, and present him with Bray is going to make him instantly legitimate. So
Maybe he's the
um,
White Rabbit
possibly, and
somehow.
if
I don't know
they're going to
how,
make,
but
I think Bray's going to have a new stable.
yeah.
That's to me kind of the significance of the live action um,
Shots.
characters. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're going to represent stable members, and he's going to have 4 or 5 people there with him um, when he reintroduces himself, and Bo can be one of those people. So that's where I think it's going, but not a surprise at all that they're re-signing his brother when they're going to represent him. So
Yeah.
it all makes sense.
All right, let's do a quick commercial break, and then we'll get to some AEW good and unfortunately bad again, Greg. But we'll get the good first, or we'll get the bad out of the way first, and leave a good taste in our mouth with it. But quick Rogue Energy talk, and then we'll get right back into this AEW stuff. Okay, I changed my mind. We're going to do the bad first, Greg, because this is another bad. I don't. It just is crazy. Like Cody Rhodes seemed to got out at the right time, didn't he?
Looks like it.
So now the latest is so we had Andrade, who's definitely trying to get himself fired or get himself released or get out of there quick. Greg get physical with Sammy Guevara. Apparently, it was just a back and forth, but Guevara possibly pushed first. Andrade did throw a punch though, or land a punch. I guess him and Draymond Green probably should spend some time together maybe this week, Greg, and see what things happen. But we said last night, Sammy Guevara seems to be the common factor in a couple of these backstage altercations, doesn't he, Greg?
Yeah, and it's too bad because Sammy is so amazing as a performer, and he's only 25. I think there's keep saying he is, and you know youth is wasted on the young, and he seems to enjoy just getting into these little encounters with um, other guys backstage. Maybe he's trying to be as alpha as they are, things like that. But any company you go to, you're going to have personalities that don't mix,
Yeah,
and it's all in how you handle it. So, Sammy still looks like he's an immature kid, and when you know things get a little rough, he decides to you know pour gas on the flame instead of trying to figure it out. So, um, definitely needs some more leadership in AEW, and a veteran like Andrade is not seeming to help the situation any at all.
that's probably
Um,
true too. I mean, Andrade probably could have handled it better too.
and same for Eddie Kingston, who the
Is a
other incident
ring.
was
Yeah, you hear a lot about Eddie Kingston being a locker room leader, trying to be that strong voice, but both the. It just seems like Sammy's changed a lot. Maybe it's the. I think it's the publicity of it all, isn't it? And maybe that's getting to his head. Just being a forefront figure, you know, sooner rather than he thought, or just maybe not ready for that. But the whole, much publicized relationship, which I know is their personal life, Greg, but if you put it out there for the world to see, it kind of doesn't that become public?
yeah
If if we, it's only like anything, like it's, you don't know if people are dating if they don't put it to the forefront. They could have, this probably was going to get leaked out eventually, yes, but then they
yeah.
just ran with it. I don't know if that was the best way to handle it, but yeah. So now what's funny is, Sammy Guevara was still there, Greg, and we can talk about how he main evented and won the damn match at the end of the night. So yeah. So I guess we see which side of the fence Tony Khan is on, obviously. But at this rate, do you just let Andrade go? Let him have his piece and go to WWE and do what he's going to do?
At this point, I think it's the better idea. There's a much higher ceiling with Sammy
Yeah.
than there is with Andrade, and Andrade's been misused the whole time he's been back. Um, from his whole, you know, Don persona that he's trying to get across.
Yeah. Nothing was
You know,
memorable about his run.
exactly, and his biggest matches were against Cody and going through a flaming table. So
Yeah.
for the amount of time he's been there, there's not much of a legacy he's leaving behind right now. And Sammy's done a lot more in a shorter time than Andrade has the whole time he's been here. So I see why Tony is kind of in Sammy's corner, even though Sammy's being probably a bigger knucklehead right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And then but there is good news. This stuff for John Moxley. Obviously, no interest in going back to WWE unless the Shield get inducted in the Hall of Fame. We'll see if that happens. If he goes there. But so he's going to stay with AEW through 2027. Sign a 5-year deal. 5-year deal. I think this is where it's so important, Greg. Expanded his responsibilities to now include mentoring and coaching talent. That right there, I don't care about Stan. I don't care about, working exclusively for AEW. Honestly, that third line right there, that's what they needed. And hopefully this, really translate to these backstage, altercations just going by the wayside or staying, private. As they, as they always say, keep the locker room private, as and I think that's really important, Greg, to have somebody like Moxley. I think we talked about before, either Jericho needs to step up or Moxley or, somebody. Because you got to assume Punk is gone. The elite guys are, they're EVPs, yes, but that's their own plate. I don't think they need to be EVPs, be mentors, be coaching talent. I think you need that hierarchy. So this says a lot. The other rumbling is Renee Young could be joining soon, which is fine. Why not at this rate? Because if he's going to be there next 5 years, it just makes sense to be working with him.
Right.
And the baby Nora can see them both be on screen. But I think, Greg, that idea of he's going to be mentoring is huge because obviously some of the guys in the back need some need some mentorship. Not even the young guys. It sounds like the older guys too. Like Kingston and Andrade. We don't. I'm assuming Andrade's not sticking around, but somebody like Kingston, needs he has anger issues, but maybe Moxley being that middleman could ease some of this tension back there. So, what do you think, Greg, about all this signing and your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm happy he signed because he seems like much more comfortable, much more natural in his presentation and the way he wrestles, everything he does in AEW than he ever was in
Yeah,
WWE.
yeah,
The Shield run was great when he all he had to do was walk out and wrestle and not worry about talking as much. But this seems like the more authentic, um,
Moxley.
Moxley,
Yeah,
and so I'm super excited that he's staying there because his matches have been better, his attitude's been better. Everything you see is a world away from what he did in WWE, and um, I remember going to a live event when he was the champion in
mhm,
WWE,
yeah,
and got getting to see that era of his life, which aside from being called the lunatic fringe, he never did anything that would make you think he was a lunatic. And so, he is a much more authentic character here. You can tell he enjoys what he's doing a lot better, and he comes across a lot better.
oh yeah,
Um, so he probably has, the respect of the locker room, and which is why they included this mentorship clause.
mhm,
I imagine it's like voting a captain for the football team.
yeah,
These are the guys who, when things are getting rough, we're going to talk to them. Or
mhm,
maybe like The Undertaker was when he was doing the Wrestler's Court,
yeah,
when guys had beef in the back, to go see takers, say your piece, and then let judge and jury render verdict. And maybe Moxley's taking that type of role, like
yeah,
having a handful of captains on the team and everything is going to funnel through them. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some more re-signings that get that kind of designation,
yeah.
and Moxley's kind of the first one. So it's a good start, and I hope that it carries over because right now um, AEW kind of starting to look like a rudderless ship.
Mhm. Yeah, this feels like the good news that they needed, and I think the fact that they put in a press release, they didn't just like announce it on their social media. This is like a legit like, okay, we need something out there. We need something for Time Warner to see. We need something for the fans to see. You put it out, like a press conference type deal. This is really trying to push everything. Maybe like a not necessarily a fresh start, Greg, but a new coat of paint, I guess it is. Maybe
Yeah.
that's a better way to look at it. So let's do another commercial break, and then we'll get into the action of AEW. And then I got a last call about a couple people, teams, Greg, and wrestlers celebrating 25 years each, and where we should think about those guys. So I forgot to write in the last call, but I got it in my brain, so hopefully I'll remember it through the next 20 some minutes that we talk wrestling, but hopefully he'll come
All
back to
right.
me. So let's get another commercial break real quick, and then we'll get into the ring action of AEW because there's stuff to talk about there. Alrighty, so we had AEW's Dynamite anniversary show happen, and I want to start the main event, Greg, because we had Jericho and Guevara defeat Daniel Garcia and Bryan Danielson. Like I said, very telling that Guevara picks up the win. I'm sorry if you're in an altercation earlier tonight, you should not be picking up any wins. You know, if you're not sent home, that's fine, but picking up a win in a main event on the anniversary show is that didn't sit well with a taste in my mouth. How about you, Greg?
Well, I kind of just took it at face value, not knowing much of what happened behind the scenes and just hearing that there was a fight. Um, it served the purpose of, Jericho and his anti-ROH crusade and creating more of distance between him and Garcia and the BCC. So that's how I saw it. I wasn't looking at the backstage
Yeah.
end of it, but knowing that what it went down, um, now after the fact, it does seem curious that the match unfolded that way, not because Jericho and Sammy won, but because Sammy got the pin. So um, I get it, but this is kind of like WWE too, is that when there's discipline happening, it happens backstage, it happens off screen, and those guys are still on TV every week like nothing happened. So maybe this is one of those cases.
That could, yeah. And then obviously that the ROH shot to Garcia has to signify that Garcia is officially out of the Jericho Association Appreciation Society. Maybe they'll still give him a couple more chances, but there's definitely the writing there on the wall. How about the MJF and Yuta Wheeler match, Greg, where MJF kind of teased the babyface turn, but then still took the diamond ring to Yuta, and had Stokely Hathaway out there and Lee Moriarty. But are we thinking MJF could turn face?
I hope not. It doesn't make sense to me. I get what you're saying because at the end of the match, it was such a great match, and you could tell that Yuta had earned MJF's begrudging respect,
Yeah.
and before they could shake hands, um, the rest of the firm got involved and started to beat him down, and MJF pulled him off of him in a very MJ like fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But he stayed the center of attention, and having these guys vulture in, um, you know is perfect because they think they're doing their part, and MJF doesn't want him to. Um, but it's still being self-serving because he's still using underhanded tactics and things like that. But you know it is a little shifting character showing that respect after a hard match against a great opponent. So um, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, MJF is going to be on the Ric Flair level that people are going to love him and cheer him no matter what.
Yeah.
He's already achieved that level probably much faster than Ric Flair did.
Yeah.
So I don't want him to be a face because
Yeah.
he's so amazing as a heel. but I'm not giving him a chance as a babyface, and
Mhm.
maybe he'd be even better. But you just wonder how that mic work would change, how the um, his character would change if he went babyface. So I love him so much as a heel. I don't want that to happen.
I was wondering if we do. So I think we're getting Hangman, Adam Page, and Moxley at a last man standing match in Cincinnati. Could you have MJF cash in his chip there and beat Moxley for the title in Cincinnati and somehow get that heel heat all on him with the help of the firm? Or do you think people would just cheer it because it's MJF getting the title?
Well, the biggest factor is the Cincinnati factor, and it happened in Moxley hometown.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just another guy on the roster. It's not Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
If it was, Brian Pillman, from Cincinnati, and this has happened to him with MJF, it wouldn't be a bit of difference. People would
Mm-hmm.
still, love what MJF did. But since this is Mox, and he's probably the face of the company right now,
Yeah.
arguably, but probably the face of the company. If that happened to him, I think this is the one spot that MJF would get booed out of the building, um, similar to Punk in Chicago. But any other city around the country, he's going to get cheered. So
Mm-hmm.
um, if it happens and he catches in his chip at the end of this match and upsets Moxley, then you're going to get that reaction where people are booing and throwing things and things like that because Moxley is red hot and he's
Yeah.
one of the biggest guys in the company right now.
Darby Allin got a good win over Jay Lethal. It almost seemed like Jay Lethal was, maybe turning somewhat too against his own, faction there, Greg. It seemed like there was a small tease of that.
There was, I saw it, and
Does it seem like they know
it's
what they're doing with Jay Lethal?
no, and that's
Yeah.
been the whole thing is that he doesn't seem to be all the way in as a heel, and he doesn't seem to be um, down as a baby face, and so that tweener role is a very specialized position. Not many guys can do it,
Yeah.
so they need to pick a side and run with it. And this match, it looked like he was um, starting to turn away from his minions.
Yeah.
So whichever way they do, they need to just pick a side and stick with it and let him go 100% that way.
Yep. Wardlow got a good win over Brian Cage. Good to see Brian Cage back on TV. Uh, Anything there, Greg?
This was a great match. Love seeing Cage back. Again, go to Tubi, watch Lucha Underground. Cage was a big figure in Lucha Underground and had some
Hmm.
great matches. Great matches. So I love seeing Cage back in this match with Wardlow. It wasn't just a squash fest and over in 5 minutes. They actually had um, a great match, great moves you wouldn't see from guys this size, and it was epic. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind seeing another handful of matches with these guys.
Hmm.
So great way to reintroduce Cage, showing that he can hang with Wardlow, and
Hmm.
they need to build up more big men and give them some shine. So I like the way they started. So I hope they keep it up and you know keep building Cage too because he has that look, he has that ability, and with the right presentation, he can be another one of those homegrown talents that a year from now, a year and a half from now, are one of the biggest faces of the company.
Yep. Willow Nightingale picked up a good win, I thought, for her team. So we had Britt Baker saying Soraya is not medically cleared, but she got physical. And then I believe it came out the next day that Soraya is medically cleared, or else she wouldn't have got physical. So when do we think? When do we think we'll finally get Soraya and Britt Baker? Did we get that at Full Gear?
Yeah, I was thinking whatever the next big pay per view is, Full Gear or All In Out, whatever it is, whatever the next big one is, that's where we're going to get it because um, they can't rely on the strength of promos right now with these two.
Or
It's
could
not
you
like
do Soraya and Jamie Hayter at Full Gear so you can give Soraya like her first win back, and then maybe wait till like winter is coming or something like that?
I actually turn it around and do it the opposite way because Hater is mega over right now.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know why, but she is, and it would be a bigger win for her to beat Britt Baker and show she's really arrived
Okay. Yeah.
and then go into Jamie Hayter at Winter is Coming
Hmm.
than do it the other way around where people are still hitching their wagon to Jamie Hayter. Britt Baker's already here, she's been here, and she's always been the face of the company in the women's division. So
Yeah.
having Soraya come out and pretty much take her spot at the top, I think is the best
Would
way
be
to go,
sensible. Yeah.
and then push her forward into the other stuff.
Um, we we had the scissoring day segment, Greg. My opinion ran a little long. I thought it was running out of steam. I don't think Swerve saved it all. Probably telling that just Swerve came out right, not
Hmm.
Keith Lee. So, um, any thoughts? So we're gonna get Swerve and Daddy Gun, Daddy Ass right next week. So, uh, yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, it was very cringy. The little State of the Union address that Max did was pretty good, um, appealing to the crowd, and how their rise from
Nobody.
yeah nobodies to being champs, that was
Yeah.
pretty good. But after that, and the Swerve interruption is where it started to go downhill and
Hmm.
get all cringy, and um,
Just it
it,
was
it
just too
is what it
long.
is. Just yeah, they could have cut that last part of it out and just had Swerve just challenge him to a rematch and be done with it,
Yeah.
and then they go to their three-way scissor and
Move on.
cut it, cut to camp to dark. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Um,
agree with you.
Page defeated Roosh. After Moxley, Greg, I don't. What are we going to do with Adam Page? Because he's kind of in a. I think he's going to be in a limbo after that.
Well, hopefully this is the time that the
We need the.
investigation is coming
Yeah,
to a
we need the
close.
elite back.
Yeah, and he can get things going with them again.
Rejoin them, and hopefully we get. Well, now we won't get Red Dragon back, so we kind of lost that. I was going to say, but Bobby Fish is off in Impact, getting booed, and CM Punk chants thrown at him in his own hometown, Greg. So that says where
Right.
Bobby Fish is at. But you gotta wonder if Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly are thinking, you know, do you think they still want to be there?
Interesting question. I mean,
I could see Adam Cole because Britt's there.
yeah, yeah, and they still haven't done much with Adam Cole yet. I mean, when he debuted, they ran him to the ground for a good, first 2 or 3 months until I think he got hurt, and we haven't seen much of him lately.
Yeah, that
So
injury must have been it. The injury must have been worse than was mentioned or said because yeah, he was written off pretty quick. But
yeah,
um,
there's still a world of things for him to do. Stay in AEW. So
yeah,
I think he's
oh
definitely
yeah,
staying, but I can see Kyle O'Reilly leaving and joining Bobby Fish and reforming their tag team in Impact or back in WWE because now they know that Triple H is going to do them right. So I'd
well
love to see
that
them back there.
yeah. Luchasaurus defeated Fuego del Sol, but the big story there is Christian, Jungle Boy in Toronto. Does Jungle Boy get the upper hand there, Greg?
Uh, not until he can nullify the interference
Luchasaurus,
part of it. So he
yeah,
needs somebody to get his back, so it doesn't just end up in another 2-on-1 situation.
yeah,
And it's a good time to introduce you know a longtime buddy or something like that. Some
Mhm.
little hookup he's got backstage to watch his back. So until then, Christian and Luchasaurus is going to stay ahead of him.
Yeah. And then we did talk up the main events. Um, so on Rampage, we had a pretty long Rampage stuff, and then we also had Battle of the Belts right after. Blackpool Combat Club picked up a win, Greg, against Roosh and Private Party. Um, any thoughts there? I still think we're waiting for Private Party to get back on with Matt Hardy, it seems like, is where that's headed. But any thoughts on that first match?
Yeah, it's kind of what you expected. Nothing special, but
Yeah.
it's a good kickoff match.
Tony Nese and Josh Woods pick up a win. We also have Anna Jay and Tay Mello. It seems like Madison Rain would be better. Rain would be better suited as a heel. I feel like she's just got that heel persona waiting to come out, Greg. It feels like she'd be better paired up with Anna and Tay, or Ty, sorry. What do you think on that end?
Yeah, Madison Rain is definitely a great heel. I've watched her for a
Was
long
she the
time.
pretty people? Or the beautiful people?
Beautiful people.
Okay.
Yep.
Her and Angelina Love and Velvet
Yep.
Sky. Yeah.
Exactly. And they were a great heel trio.
Yeah.
So I definitely like her better as a heel than as a babyface. It doesn't even look right seeing her as a babyface. But
And I think she's married to Josh Matthews, which is, man, talk about shoot, what's that? Going out of your league, Greg, or Josh Matthews, but
yeah, way out of his league.
That Triangle, your boys got another win over Dark Order. We were supposed to get Andrade and 10 with the whole mask or lose. Andrade would leave. I don't know when I doubt if we're going to get that at all now, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't go down if it was so bad backstage, and this would give them the out to write off Andrade and send them packing. That the match still didn't go down.
Yeah.
Because number one, he would lose the match, and Dark Order gets to celebrate on Brody Lee's anniversary, and you get rid of the Andrade problem. Yeah. So I'm surprised the match didn't still go down, but this was a great match with Death Triangle and the Dark Order. And I think it's showing that Pac is going to end up splintered off from the Lucha Brothers. So I think that Pac's going to go, straight up heel, and the Lucha Brothers going to swing back to the babyface side.
Yeah.
With Pac resorting to using the hammer that's going to become his weapon of choice. I think he's used it 2 weeks in a row now.
Yeah. And Paul shenanigans against Trent Barretta as well in that All-American or All-Atlantic title match, correct?
I didn't get to watch Battle of the Belt, so I didn't see what happened in it. But
I know the big thing was Nyla Rose stealing the TBS title from Jade. So I guess we're going to do that, Greg, because, why not? And FTR picked up a win, but Nyla and Jade, that's fine. Because Jade needs needs a win over that next level, Nyla Rose. She's beat a lot of, let's just face it, lower level talent. Nobody's seemed like a legit title. You can believe Nyla Rose could beat her, honestly, but her picking up a win over Nyla is definitely telling for her. So FTR picks up a win. Wardlow and Samoa Joe came out for the save. So we'll maybe get some 4-on-4 action there with the whole embassy, which is, I believe, Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony and somebody else, I believe, against FTR, Samoa Joe, and Wardlow at some point. But let's do one last commercial break, and then we'll get to my last call about a couple anniversaries that we've had come up this week. So quick realty talk, and then we'll get into our last call.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dan over at BWSPORTS1.com and Black and White Sports. And I'm wondering if you're ready to buy or sell that home, now's the time, and I got just the person for you. Mr. Sean Nugent, a.k.a. Rockstar Realtor himself. 317-503-8322. Put that home on the market. Get into your dream home with this man. Talk to Sean at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322. And make sure you tell him the boys over at BWSPORTS1.com sent you.
So our two big anniversaries, the past couple weeks or so, Greg, was Kane, I believe 25 years in the business with a special title being, made for him. Nice, looks like his old school mask and red and black looked pretty cool. And then DX celebrating 25 years tomorrow night on Raw, live in Brooklyn. So I guess the question is, Greg, who had the better run?
I think DX for sure. Kane was definitely very interesting. I liked his character arc from the moment he started showing up as a surprise at the Undertaker's Hell in a Cell match, ripping the door off the cell.
Mm-hmm. Great
way to make your first impression, and just be a monster. And for a while, it looked like Kane was better than the Undertaker. And I'm sure that was Undertaker, leading that and helping him look as amazing as possible. And he did for a long time. He's been in some great storylines. He was went through so many character metamorphoses.
He kept himself relevant. I think more so than DX. Do you think?
Oh, DX had a lot shorter run than Kane, though.
Well, are we still counting when DX was still, just Shawn Michaels and Triple H? Because I mean that was still going through late 2000s.
Well, I think of DX as being 4, 5, 6 members deep. That was like the real DX with the Road Dogg or the New Age Outlaws in China and Six Fox. So
not Jackie.
I barely remember Jackie. She's there for
I think it is interesting that she kind of has no hit. Like that's probably the best thing of her run. Honestly, that was the only memorable thing she did. But her and Kane being paired together, I think interesting that they coincide together as well, Greg. If you consider it, because the X-Pac Kane tag team had Jackie involved with it. So
yeah, it did.
Our Kane was kind of an unofficial member of DX there for a little bit, if I remember right. Some of that early 2000-ish, but I give the slight edge to Kane because I look at the idea that he kept himself relevant. I mean, the run was longer, and I don't know. It just seems like because you got to think at the the DX stuff versus like McMahon and Shane. And then I was just like, or Shawn Michaels not knowing if he wanted to be with DX type stuff like that. DX definitely ran its course. I don't know if Kane ever ran his course. If you think about it, like I guess you could say, what was it, corporate Kane? I guess you could say that was probably pushing it, Greg. But at the same time, that was just another way he was able to, keep himself relevant. Especially with the authority Kane. That's what it was. Sorry, not corporate Kane, because we did have corporate ministry and corporation and all that. But so now influential. There's no way Kane is even close, because we still give the suck it sign, Greg. I mean, so that's definitely influential wise. Yeah, I think it's DX is still heads and tails, but I do give a slight edge to Kane. I might not like him now politically, but as a wrestler, he definitely, I mean, the fact, I mean, he did a lot of the Undertaker stuff, Greg, but he was able to kind of do his own. He eventually did his own thing as well, too. And then you got to think, like the Brothers of Destruction run. I mean, that thing was, people ate that up. So, and unfortunately, if we really think about it, Brothers Destruction and DX, Greg, were tied together in Crown Jewel with Shawn Michaels' return match, and
Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
they will always
we don't want
forever be the end of the era should have been legit the end of the era. Like that's all we got to say there. Like the Hell in a Cell match with Shawn Michaels as a ref with Triple H with Undertaker, that should have been it. And
to.
but if the Prince of Saudi Arabia gets calls with a couple million, Greg, who's this? If you could bring Stone Cold back finally, I mean, now it's anybody's fair game. So, yeah,
And true. I mean, I can definitely see your point with Kane. He never fell out of favor. He never went away altogether. Um, and as much as we recognize DX as Triple H and Shawn Michaels, we don't look at it as WWE is being run by DX now.
yeah, that's probably what's
It's Hunter
crazy to
and
think.
yeah, it's still Hunter and Sean
And
but
Road
we don't
Dogg's
think of
going to
them
be
in that.
back there somewhere.
Yeah, of course. Um, but the DX just give us so many memorable segments,
That
so
is,
many
yeah, yeah.
great matches, so much. Um,
If you think
they
of
were
Attitude Era, you think of a DX.
exactly.
Yeah,
Um, you didn't leave your screen when DX was on the TV. You can say the same thing for Rock and Stone Cold. There was that core group of guys, and
yeah,
DX was it. They were in that core. Um, and Kane and Undertaker were in it too. Um, but like you said, influential. DX was, when you turned on Raw, DX was one of the first things you thought about.
yeah.
I'm not sure Kane was one of the first things you thought about, unless
No,
he had a crazy storyline going on. I looked forward to watching Raw to see what DX was going to do and say next. So I was a huge DX fan from um, everything they did in the ring to their entrance.
mhm.
Um, loved the Are You Ready? And, Triple H and Shawn doing the gimmick and, you know, let's get ready to suck it. And, everything was just, it was money every
Yeah,
week. So I always look forward to seeing what DX was going to do. Same way I look forward to seeing what Stone Cold was going to do. But they were those people at the top of mind when you turned on Raw during the Attitude Era.
oh yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, there's no doubt. It's Kane, or it's just very interesting how they're so tied together, almost parallel of each other, if you really consider it, and intersecting at times. But 25 years to each, and we'll see DX back tomorrow night, Greg, and yeah, is it? I'll just say it. This probably should be the last time we see DX on TV, right? I mean, do we need them anymore?
No,
Yeah.
no, they
So
stay behind the scenes, make WWE better again, great again, to steal a
yeah,
phrase, and keep doing what they're doing because Triple
yeah.
H is doing an amazing job. Um, Sean's doing an amazing job down in NXT, you know, rebooting things down there, and so
Mhm.
just let them stay separate but equal,
Yeah.
and do their magic behind the scenes. We don't need to see DX on TV anymore
Whatever
until
Road
they're
Dogg does.
right.
I don't know. Why doesn't X Pac have a job yet? What's up with him? Is he too busy doing like a weed business? Probably. I mean,
Probably. He seems
he,
a little
he seems
erratic.
he always seems on the
So,
outs, but he has cleaned himself up though. You can tell, like from where he was,
yeah.
early or mid 2000s after he was done, Greg. I mean, he does seem like a much better place mentally, physically, emotionally, all that. So, um, yeah, probably hit a little too hard there at the beginning though. So, uh, yeah. Well, that's the only thing I got. Did you have anything for the good of the cause, Greg, before we wrap up the show here?
Well, we touched on it a little bit, but um, do we think this is going to be a Wyatt faction or just Wyatt back on his own?
I I don't know. I mean, I think if you use the characters the right way, why not? I mean, I'm game for it because I've always thought. I mean, a lot of people vouch for somebody to be Lily or somebody to be Abby, somebody to be Husky, somebody to be those. So you know why not run with it and let Triple H and Bray sit back and and talk it out. Don't just give it some life. Don't just throw it out there and have no plan with it. That's probably the downfall. Like that's why the what I think that's why people feel optimistic that it could work is because if you let Bray have that control on it, Greg, and let Triple H, be the maybe bringing it to life. Maybe Bray doesn't necessarily have that way to bring it to life, but has the ideas in his brain. Yeah, maybe Shawn Michaels gets involved as well, or whoever else is backstage right now. But I say go with it.
Mm-hmm.
It gives five, 4 or 5 people something too. If you think about it, if done right. It's
Right.
like we said. What was it? The Team Taz. The 3 guys that came out better because of it, type
Yeah.
deal. Like they all ended up in their own light. Could we say we? I still think the jury was out on the Inner Circle though, whether those guys came out better. But factions done well. Great. I mean, look at Evolution. You had
Yeah.
the Green guys in Batista and Randy Orton, who Orton probably needed that more than Batista, but then all those 2 guys became who they are because of that. So
Mm-hmm.
and who's to say you don't put the masks up until you're ready to give it a person? That's probably the good thing about masks. It's like Kiss. Like you could throw 4 guys out there that know the Kiss songs, Greg, and could know the Kiss moves and could possibly carry the Kiss name. And we might not even know any better of it. So um,
That's true.
people, it's interesting you brought that up because somebody brought up that there's a picture of Abigail with the women's title almost positioned behind her. So could that play up that maybe she's a former women's champion, or is that something she wants to go after? So I thought that was interesting little tidbit there, Greg, that people have already people are better detectives than me, as I've seen, but cool to see notice something like that. So yeah, but I say go with it. I don't think you need them all formed at once either. Like this could play out for a few weeks.
Yeah, for
Play
sure.
out, play out. Maybe a couple segments ish too. You don't need it all because that's probably the thing. You don't want them all, just coming in smashing, and then then what do you do with them? So you just have little snippets of it, and then maybe war games or something like that, or Survivor Series. Maybe they have to go against a team type deal. Maybe they're not in the war games match, Craig, but maybe they're in a 4-on-4 Survivor Series match. So that could also build up Survivor Series. Instead of just throwing 4 random guys together or 4 girls that we don't really care about, that don't have any chemistry together. So because you got plenty of time, I think, if you build it up right. So yeah, I say run with it.
Yeah, I liked it. Well, I like it a lot more now with Triple H in charge and knowing that McMahon's not going to be there to turn it into a cartoon. And um, another thing I was a big fan of was seeing, along with Huskus and um, the Rabbit and the Vulture, that the Fiend had its own, puppet too. So
Mm-hmm.
in a way, it looked like they retired the Fiend too,
Yeah.
to just kind of like another aspect um, of Bray. And so when they had him come out instead of the Fiend come out, I was a big fan of that.
Yeah.
But you can still have it represented. And I saw that with when they had the solo shot on Abigail, that there was a championship belt behind her. And I was
Mm-hmm.
looking to see if there was a fan holding the belt,
It was just
but I
positioned
couldn't
on
tell.
the. Just looked like it was just sitting on the barricade.
Yeah. Um, so, and then the light shifted and you couldn't look at it anymore. So
Yeah.
nice placement right there. So curious to see if something happens with that. But I definitely think it should be a new Wyatt family, and maybe this is how the bloodline ends eventually with this new Wyatt family. They're going to be top of the card as soon as they're unveiled, and the way to become kings of the mountain is to knock off the kings of the mountain. So it could be a great rivalry once this happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will call today there and look forward to next week. We got Crown Jewel happening in November, so we got Halloween Havoc coming up. We'll have Survivor Series. AEW's got a couple just shows happening, and yeah, we'll kind of see. I think the last man standing match between Moxley and Hangman is going to be something to watch in a couple weeks. Does that return the Elite? Does it signify something for Hangman? Yeah, a lot of stuff there, Greg. So thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your evening and enjoy wrestling this week. Have a good night.
Peace.